Welcome to episode 20 of An American Journey. To celebrate an edition with a zero at the end, we will have a different format for this episode. I'm going to be interviewing Mandy Urena, author of the book, If These Hands Could Talk, Massaging My Way Around the World. Hi, Mandy. How are you?
Hi, Julian. I'm very good. How are you?
I'm great. I've just finished your book. I guess the target audience for the book is someone with a strong interest in massage. I have to say that's not me, but I did enjoy the book. I also learned quite a lot about massage.
Exactly. And that's why I wrote it. So people just learned more about what it really is, what it isn't, and dispelled the ridiculous myths.
Okay, well, maybe we'll come on to some of those later. However, this podcast is about all things American. So I'm going to ask questions predominantly on your experience in the USA and with Americans, rather than all of your other travels around the globe. So let's start at the beginning of the story, or your story. In your book, you talk about fantasizing about living and working in America at the age of 16 in your English school. What do you think the draw of America for a 16-year-old girl from Coventry was?
Escape from boarding school, honestly. I was at a very strict all-girls boarding school in Leamington Spa, and we used to read American romance novels with, guys called Chase and Brody and Cody, and we loved Rob Lowe in Oxford Blues, and we loved Magnum PI, and we all had crushes on him and his moustache, and that was all so American. And then in these movies, you see the beaches in California, and they're huge, these golden sands, and you've got all these surfers. And we didn't have any of that in Coventry. And it was just a different world, and I wanted to be part of that.
So at the age of 19, you find yourself in LA, living in LA with someone called Kip. How did that happen?
I wasn't living with Kip. It didn't last that long. Back up slightly, but I was living in Israel, working on a kibbutz, and then I went to work in a hotel. And in that hotel, I was a cocktail waitress in the British pub there called the Yacht Pub. And Kip was in the army, the American army, and he was coming up from the Sinai Desert, actually. So he came in for a few drinks. I was his waitress. One thing led to another, and we had a little fling. Then we were writing letters to each other, and he said, "Oh, you really should come over to LA." And I thought, I really should. So he said, "I'll take you to Hollywood and we'll see the limos and we'll go to the beach." And that was it, sold.
You get there and I think you find yourself 2 jobs in America. Is that right?
Yes. I was 19 at the time. Wasn't even legal to drink, actually, because it's 21 in America, as you know. I got myself a fake ID from down in Hollywood on Sunset and Vine. It cost me $60. And I got a job in a bar in the Lighthouse Cafe. And then I was working in the Lighthouse Cafe. And one day a lady came in and I was serving her. And she said, "Would you consider coming to work for us at Prudential Stockbrokers?" And I said, "Well, to do what?" She said, "We want you for your accent." So they paid me, I don't know, $10 an hour. It wasn't very much. And I used to answer the phone. And her boss thought it was fantastic that I, a British person with a British accent, would answer the phone. So I did that during the day, and I cocktail waitressed at night in the jazz bar.
And which was the better paid?
The jazz bar, because I would make huge tips.
Right.
They hear you have a British accent and they throw money at you.
Daughter number 1 works in a bar, and some of the tips she gets are really quite extraordinary. You seem to have a bit of a type, don't you? Because you then find yourself, you do a bit more traveling, and then you find yourself on an American military base in Germany. Perhaps you could describe that American military base for somebody who's not been on one.
Okay, well, you've fast forwarded about, 20 years. So spoiler alert, it didn't work out with Kip. And
No.
and I went to Japan because my friend at boarding school, she's Japanese, and she said, I'd love you to visit me one day. I got a bit fed up of waitressing, and I went from California to Tokyo. And in Tokyo, I met my husband, and he was a GI, American Air Force, working on the base about an hour away from Tokyo. Long story short, we got married and then we transferred to Germany. So I was on Yokota Air Force Base in Japan, and then we transferred to Germany with Ramstein Air Force Base, which is just south of Frankfurt.
And so describe it. What is it like to be on an American base?
Okay. So there are American bases overseas, and the best tour to get is an overseas tour.
Right.
So it's basically Little America in the middle of Germany or in the middle of Japan or in the middle of Spain. All the buildings are beige. Everything's beige. And there's a chow hall for the military guys to go and eat in. And then for the married personnel, they get apartments or little houses on base. And so we lived in a small apartment on base in Japan. And then in Germany, we had a house off base, because you can live on base or off base.
Right.
But in Germany, it was nice to live off base in a tiny village. And we were a 10-minute drive away from the base. And the base is your umbrella of everything. So we have the commissary, which is the supermarket.
Right.
We have the BX, the base exchange, which is your department store.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody on the base has to have an ID. So you drive on in the mornings and there's someone checking your ID, and then you're allowed in. And you can go to the base gym, the supermarket, the bowling alley, the theater.
It's like a little town, its own separate little town, and it just happens to have a different culture. It's American rather than German or Japanese.
We have the German restaurants on the base. So they bring a little of Germany in.
Okay. And then you marry somebody from the Air Force, is that right?
Yes. So this is the same guy I met in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
And I left with a GI, and we've been married now 28 years.
I mean, one of the things which interests me is the way that the military is viewed in the UK versus the way it's viewed in the US. I'd be interested in your observations on that.
Well, over here, the military are very respected, and there are lots of discounts everywhere. So when we're traveling, you go to a movie theater or you go to a museum and you say, do you have military discount? And they usually say yes. And sometimes it's free. So I think Disney World is free for military.
I didn't know that. Mm-hmm.
Which is absolutely amazing. So they really respect and are very grateful for the service. And if we're talking to somebody in a bar and my husband says, if they say, what do you do? He'll say, well, I'm retired now, but I was Air Force for 28 years. The very first thing an American will say is, thank you for your service. And anytime you mention military, thank you for your service. And even if I say, oh, I'm an Air Force wife, my husband was in for 28 years, they will say to me, thank you for your service. Because when one person serves, the family serve. Because we're the ones that have to be uprooted, and we go from Germany to Spain to wherever we get posted. We don't really get much of a choice. In England, it's not the same. There's no thank you for your service. It's like, oh yeah, he's in the army.
I think it's even worse than that. I mean, you do hear stories of people who are in uniform receiving disgusting treatment from other people in Britain, which would just never happen in America. You know, everyone, whatever their political viewpoint, recognizes that people in the army are just doing whatever their political leaders tell them to.
Yeah, they are literally fighting for all the freedoms that we have today.
There's scarcely an event that you can go to where people serving military people are not asked to stand up, and everyone else, you know, that's the other sort of big difference. I've never seen that in the UK.
Yes. So even on the base, when we would go to watch a movie on a Friday night, before the movie starts, before you sit down with your popcorn, the national anthem is played. Everybody stands up. Your hand goes on your heart and you sing, or you don't sing, but you absolutely stand up and respect it. You can't be on your phone. You can't be taking pictures. You can't be eating your popcorn. There's such a level of respect.
You hint in the book that you also were on Guam as well. Is that right?
Yes.
Because that's technically part of America. It's not a part of America I've been to. Perhaps you could describe Guam to me.
Guam is paradise. Guam is a tiny tropical island, a little bit above Australia and to the left of the Philippines.
Right.
So it's nowhere near continental United States. It's about 4 miles wide, 30 miles long. So we were on the base on the Air Force Base up on the north part. And if I drove all the way down south, it was 1 hour and 7 minutes to the end of the island, and then 1 hour and 7 minutes back. And then that's it. You get a little bit of island fever, but it was absolutely beautiful. A small island surrounded by a reef, and the sea is 7 colors of Tiffany blue. 7 shades of Tiffany blue. Absolutely amazing. And the beaches are wide and golden, white sands, actually. You've never seen anything like it. Imagine paradise. That's Guam.
And is it essentially a military island? Or do people go there for tourism reasons as well?
Tourism as well. So two sources of income for Guam are the military and tourism. So the Japanese are the biggest number of tourists in Guam. And everything is catered to the Japanese. So you can have, sushi and ramen and all the Japanese favorite foods. And it's written in Japanese. The prices are sometimes translated into yen. They really cater to the Japanese and Chinese as well, Koreans.
So you've been living on a number of these bases, in Germany and Spain and Guam and Japan and so forth. And obviously you've built your massage practice in most of these places. You talk in the book about, massaging special forces individuals. So what are they looking for in a massage?
They're looking to get fixed because they just busted their hip or something jumping out of planes. They do a lot of workout. They run every day and they really are fit fighting machines. And so they ache. And luckily, I was one of the only massage therapists on the base. So they would come in and I'd have to fix their hip or their knee from running. And I was masseuse to the troops.
Okay. But they're not asking for a Reiki massage, are they? They're asking for something quite a hard massage, I would guess.
Yes. They're not asking for anything energy. They're not asking for anything light. They're asking for deep tissue, myofascial release, really deep stretching. They want to be beaten up.
And in general, obviously you've massaged people of all nationalities around the world. Is an American looking for a different type of massage to a non-American?
Yeah. Well, if we compare Britain with America as far as massage goes, in America, everyone has their massage therapist on speed dial. They really do. So who's your massage therapist? Oh, that's Mandy. Or who's your massage therapist? They might do it regularly for preventative purposes.
Right.
They come every week, every month, every couple of weeks. And it's for therapeutic reasons. Right. So it's not just on your birthday, a little lavender massage of the back. No. I think in England, it's more like that. People see it as a luxury.
Right.
And they see it as a gift to give at Christmas or birthday. And even I talk to my friends and family, and they just think I do this namby-pamby light massage in a spa, and it isn't that at all. So in America, we have to go to school. We have to go to school for about 9 months to a year, depending on the state. And we have to know anatomy and physiology really well. And people don't understand that. They say, do you have to go to school for this? And you're like, well, of course I have to go to school for this.
Well, I have to say, in reading the book, I was surprised. You do far more than 1 year's training. If you accumulate all of the training that you talk about in your book, it's years and years of training of various different types. So I was surprised by how much there was. I thought there would be some. I just didn't think there would be years and years of it.
Right. Well, not everybody does years and years, and not everyone does their continuing education.
Right.
But there's a difference. So you're either getting a hamburger massage or you're getting a Kobe steak massage.
Right.
There's a huge difference. A massage is not a massage all over the world.
But in the US, what you're saying is that most of your clients, it's for health reasons and quite often preventative reasons as well. So it's covered, for many of people, it will be covered by their health insurance.
Yes, a lot of it. Mine isn't. I haven't gone that route, actually.
Okay, so you've gone the private route. But for many people, they will get it on Medicaid, Medicare, or their health insurance. Okay. Traveling around, your husband's being moved from base to base, and eventually you return to the US and into New Jersey, and you find yourself living on a boat in Trump Marina. So tell me about that.
Oh my goodness! Yes, we got transferred to McGuire Air Force Base in New Jersey. And we had a boat. 3 days a week, we would go on our boat. We'd go from Marlton, New Jersey, where we lived, an hour to the shore. And that was in Atlantic City. Atlantic City is basically Vegas on the East Coast.
Right.
So we had a boat there, and it was a liverboard. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we were there on the dock, partying, taking the boat out, doing docking and dining. And it happened to be at Farley State Marina. That's the actual name of it. But at the time, the casino across the street was Trump Marina, and now it's the Golden Nugget. Okay. So it's classed itself up considerably, and it's really beautiful. It's where all the beautiful people go now. Great restaurants, great bars.
You find yourself working in one of these casinos as a massage therapist. Tell me about that.
Yes, I worked just 2 days a week, Saturday and Sunday, and it was 3 o'clock until 9 o'clock at night. And it was in a really high-end, gorgeous casino. And I absolutely loved that job. And we'd massage, rock stars and VIPs. And you walk down the corridors to the spa on your way to work. And one day I saw Earth, Wind and Fire just walking past me. And then New Kids on the Block.
Okay.
And you think, oh my goodness, you're literally just going to work with your backpack on your back. And you go, and there's these famous bands that just walking through the back corridors because they didn't want to be seen. Well, not didn't want to be seen, but they didn't want to walk through the casinos.
Right. And then Atlantic City, I've not been to Atlantic City. Is it pretty much like Vegas, or are there some differences?
Differences in that it's a beach town. And it has a lot of history. It was for medicinal purposes. It was touted as a spa town to go for medicinal purposes if you were ill. And then the casinos came in, and the gangsters came in. So it has a really rich, fun history. It's full of hotels, full of casinos, great restaurants, great bars. It's a party city. So if you're living in New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, any of the surrounding states, you'll go there for the weekend and you'll get a hotel, a couple of $100 a night. And it is just pure party city. It's a lot of fun. There's downtown areas, and there's a lot of homeless and drug use, and and there's some really not very good areas.
Right. But Vegas is a bit like that, isn't it? If you look, you can find that as well in Vegas. So
that's true. But in Atlantic City, we've got a beautiful boardwalk, and it's a wooden boardwalk, and all the casinos are lining it, and restaurants as well. And people walk with their families, with their strollers. People are jogging. There's entertainment. People are busking. And it's a really beautiful day out just to walk along that promenade.
Okay. And you worked there for a while, and then unfortunately the 2008 recession came and took away your job, and you find yourself teaching massage to people in Philadelphia.
Yes, in Philly. I'd been massaging a while. I can't remember how long, maybe 10 years or 12 years at that time. And I just didn't think I knew enough to teach it. But a friend of mine, because we were all laid off at the same time in the down economy, and a friend of mine got a job in a massage school. And I thought, wait a minute, she's only been doing this a really short time. I've been doing this much longer. So I thought, well, I'm going to apply. So I did. And the Philadelphia branch called me and said, would you like to come for an interview? I really didn't want to be driving across the bridge from New Jersey to Philly, but I needed a job. So I said, okay. And I got the interview, I got the job, and I absolutely loved it. It was my favorite job I've ever had in my entire life. If the pay wasn't so diabolical, I'd still be doing it now.
And what type of person is going to learn massage?
Obviously, people that love it are really interested in it. But there's also, I had a lot of students who came just because it was a welfare to work program. And so you have recruiters saying, listen, the government will pay for this. Just go to school, any school. And so we had a lot of them come that way. But when they came to class, they learned to love massage. They got really good at it. And now they're still huge proponents of it. We also had people who wanted a second career. So older people, we even had people in their 60s who were done with corporate America, and they just wanted to do something touchy-feely. And they came to school and got part-time jobs as massage therapists. They didn't need it to sustain a mortgage.
Yeah, a friend of mine is a massage therapist, and I know that she needs a break every once in a while. So when she goes on vacation, she doesn't use her hands at all because they are beaten up from that experience. So I can imagine doing something on a, more part-time basis, might be quite a good option actually for many.
And that's what I do now. So I'm not 20 years old anymore. I have paid my dues. I work 2 days a week in a hotel down here, and then I have some private clients. And it's enough. It really is, because I'm slammed on Mondays and Thursdays. And, the money's really good for 2 days a week. And then my privates, I make very good money because I set my price. I have the experience and they pay. And they can get it for $50. It can go to someone who's straight out of school, or they can go to one of these McDonald's type of franchises.
Massage Envy or something.
You said it, not me. So they can get a massage for $50, $60. But for me, it's $150. But I go to their house and, and I'm really good. And I fix their frozen shoulder, or I make them feel better. Or I strip their neck muscles because they've slept funny. So there's your range, $50 to $150.
You then find yourself changing focus entirely and move into giving massage to cancer patients.
Yes. As I was working in New Jersey, one of my clients, very regular clients, she got diagnosed with breast cancer. And she wanted to come in for a massage, and they'd become friends because my massage clients became friends. I mean, you're massaging them every week. It's a real intimate relationship. And so she was a really good friend, and she wanted to come in for a massage after her diagnosis. And I said, I don't really know if it's not contraindicated. Is it safe? I have no idea. So I would rather get some kind of certification before I massage you. But she came in that next day, and I massaged her with lavender. And I did not a deep tissue, but fairly deep, because her shoulders were hurting. And I shouldn't have done any of that.
Right.
Luckily, a few weeks later, I found a course, and the course was up in Alaska. So I got the money together and I went up to Alaska, and I did this oncology massage course for the week. And we had massage clinic. So women and men, I have to say, it's not just women who get breast cancer. Men get it as well. And it's not called chest cancer. It's called breast cancer, which I didn't know until I studied it. But we would have men and women come into the clinic, and we would learn all the new techniques. And it was a really eye-opening and humbling experience. And that's why the chapter is called Humbled, massaging oncology clients in Alaska.
And tell me about, because the place you went to in Alaska was called Homer. So describe Homer, Alaska to our listeners.
Homer is really remote. It's about a 4-hour drive from Anchorage. And we drove down in the ice and snow. Absolutely incredible, on the Seward Highway. And to the side, to the east is the sea, and it was frozen over in tiny little waves. And there were all these cars, and they were doing little wheelies and driving races on the ice. And then on the left, people were ice pick climbing. So that was a 4-hour drive. And we got stopped by a moose on the way, and he wouldn't budge. And we had to sit there while this, 500-pound moose wouldn't move.
They're big moose, aren't they?
Huge. So
they tower over your vehicle.
It really does. So you do not beep your horn. You don't do anything because they can smash you to pieces. Anyway, we get to Homer, and it's at the end of this peninsula. It has a beach, and it's got slate stones on it and snow. And it's freezing. And it has cute little restaurants, kind of wooden hut type restaurants.
And how about the lights there? Because sounds like you went in winter. I imagine that you're not getting much light.
I was just about to say, I'm trying to think of what it was like, but I never saw it in the daylight, to be really honest with you, because my classes started at 9 a.m. and they finished at 4. So I went to class in the pitch black at 9 a.m, and it was still pitch black at 4:00. And the only time I actually saw it was when we had lunch breaks and went to the restaurants. And so it's very cute little beach town, seaside town. And in the summer, they have a lot of tourists there. And it would just be like a beach town in England, like Torquay or something.
One of the things which I was interested to read in your book is that you had 5 things that you wanted to do before you die. You actually achieved one of those after going through that training in Alaska, didn't you?
I did. I think it was number 2 or 3 on my list, but it was to meet Olivia Newton-John.
Mm-hmm.
I'm crazy about Olivia Newton-John. I have been since.
You're hopelessly devoted to her, are you?
I am absolutely hopelessly devoted to Olivia Newton-John, but it's since the movie Grease, and I think it came out in 1978. And she had her, black satins on, those tight black iconic pants, trousers.
I think I recall them.
Of course you do. So anyway, I just always loved her music. She's a philanthropist. She went through breast cancer. In fact, she still has it. She's been through it 3 times now. It kept coming back. And after I'd been to Alaska, a few days later in Atlantic City, she had a concert. And so I got tickets and I got backstage passes.
Okay.
And I met her and I said to her, do you know, you are number 3 on my things to do before I die. And she laughed. And I told her I just got back from Alaska from doing an oncology massage class. And she said, oh, we have that in my spa in Australia. And I said, yes, I know all about Gaia. And I know you do oncology massage. And so she asked me about my training. And I was just in absolute awe, speaking a mile a minute, like I had verbal diarrhea. It was one of the most wonderful times in my life, wonderful experiences. And I met her a couple more times over the next few years.
Right. Good. And so a couple of places I want to go from that answer. So first, what are your other 4 things that you want to do before you die?
3 things that I really want to do.
Mm-hmm.
These really are my goals in life. So I want to go to all 7 continents. I've been to 5. Okay. I still have Antarctica and South America to go.
Mm-hmm.
I want to do 100 countries. Okay. So I'm at 65 right now.
Okay.
And then the third one is to see every single state in America. So I'm at 46. And aren't you about the same?
I'm the same number. I'm 46 states, 120 countries, and 6 continents.
You win.
It's not a competition.
Oh, no. So what are your 4 that you have left?
4 states that I've got left are Alaska, Hawaii, Nebraska, and Kansas.
I just went to Nebraska and Kansas a few months ago. So when you go, I will tell you everywhere you should go.
So those are the things that you want to do. And then the other thing you then set up your own massage clinic for cancer patients, didn't you? And its name is what? Grace
and Gratitude.
I can't say I'm a Olivia Newton-John groupie, but I believe that's one of her songs. Is that right?
It is. It's a song called Grace and Gratitude. Is also the name of her album. Uh-huh. And I called it the Grace and Gratitude Cancer Massage Center. And it was open only for about 6 months. And it was going well. And I had quite a few clients and I did some really good work and I loved it. But my husband got stationed in Spain. And we had 12 weeks notice.
Right.
So I had to close everything down. I couldn't sell the business. I couldn't really pass it on because it's something like only 1% of massage therapists do oncology massage. 1%. Right. So no one could take over from me. So I had to close it down. And I was absolutely gutted. I was distraught. I mean, yes, I was moving to Spain, but I wasn't happy about it. No. Because I put my heart and soul into getting certified to do oncology massage. And I thought I was doing something really great for the world. And I had to just quit it.
I mean, that's part of the challenge of being a military spouse, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
And you now live in Miami Beach. Why did you choose that place to live in?
You're going to laugh. You're going to think I'm ridiculous, but that's okay. We moved here because of Dexter.
Well, the serial killer.
Yes. Okay. We moved to Miami Beach because of a serial killer. And that is the
fictional serial killer.
Fictional, yeah. Yes, on Netflix. So Dexter, we were absolutely fascinated by it. And we watched it back to back, binge watched it when we were living in Spain. And they would do these panoramic views of Miami Beach, and the music was all salsa, merengue, very Latino influenced the restaurants and the bars, and everyone is just having such a great time, so much culture. And we said, wow, this just looks like an amazing lifestyle. And we watched all of the seasons. And then a few weeks later, my husband was going on a business trip with the military. So he went to Miami Beach and hired a car, and he was driving all around the area. And he said, this place is fantastic. You would love it. So we started looking online at places, and we capped it at what we thought we could afford. And we found some apartments that were really quite reasonable. And about 6 months later, he got another job here. And so I came with him, and we came to this apartment building where I'm sitting right now in Miami Beach, and bought this place. But it was our retirement plan because we bought it 6 years ago. But he still wasn't out of the military. So we rented it out. And then 3 years ago, he retired after 28 years, and we moved here.
You like seeing out your days in Florida? Is that what you plan to do?
Yes, because I'm obviously not retired. I still work, but he's retired. Miami Beach it's paradise. It's absolutely paradise. I mean, people flock here every day, millions of people, because the beaches are pristine. Right. And there's so much to do, so much culture. And the art scene here is fantastic. We have some of the best restaurants in the world. I'm 3 blocks from the beach. I cycle to work.
We did an earlier podcast on Miami Beach and the Keys. Did you happen to listen to that one?
I heard it. Yes, I did.
Did we get everything right? Was there anything we've missed out?
Oh, well, there's so much. So we could do a whole hour on Miami Beach for sure. Mm-hmm. There is so much. But yes, you did a great job. And you were talking about Key West. And I know you were there a few months ago.
Yeah.
Well, we were there for Christmas. And we've decided that this is how we're going to do Christmas.
Every year.
Such a party.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody is having so much fun. People are walking around. And when I say people, I mean us, in ridiculous Christmas dresses and sweaters and ugly Christmas sweaters. And you can walk along the streets in Key West with your cocktail, and no one stops you. It's perfectly legal, just like in New Orleans.
And just like in Britain, actually. I mean, it is unusual in Britain, you're allowed to have alcohol outside, aren't you? Whereas most of America, drinking alcohol outside in the street is illegal, isn't it?
It is illegal, yes. But in those two places, it's legal. Like in Miami Beach, if you're walking along with a beer in your hand, you will get stopped and you will get a ticket. But sitting on the beach, well, we're not supposed to drink on the beach, but people take their coolers and their picnics.
Yeah, that's right. They have their little cups, which anything could be in, and yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's good. I've got some general questions to ask you now, which I'm going to ask everyone I interview. Football, basketball, or baseball?
None of them, really.
Okay. So you don't go and see the Marlins then when you're...
Baseball. Actually, I do. No, I just thought. So baseball, because we do go and see the Marlins. Because my husband's military, we get free tickets every now and again. So we do go. And we went just because the tickets were free. And I thought, I'm going to be so bored. But actually, it was really fun. We didn't stay for all, however many innings there were. 9 innings, is it?
That's right. I can see you're a bit of a baseball expert.
Oh, yes, I am. So 9 innings.
So you leave after the 7th inning stretch. Is that when you usually leave the park?
Or the 5th, yeah, it just depends. But it's really interesting to go there, even if you don't like sports. I'm not a massive American baseball fan, but you walk around the whole stadium and it's bright lights and there's music, and you just see the other fans, the American fans, and they're in their T-shirts supporting their home team, and everyone's drinking beer, eating big fat hot dogs, and the ice cream stands are really great because they serve the ice creams in a tiny little plastic baseball cap.
Right.
I love it. So I sit there with my ice cream, and I just think that's the best entertainment. And I do like it when they hit a home
run, I think is what you're looking for. Home run.
Yes.
Yes, when they hit a home run.
Yeah, no, that is exciting. Everyone jumps up and they do the wave, and it's a really entertaining evening out on a Monday.
Which underrated place should people visit in the US?
Arkansas.
Okay.
I know, it's not what you thought I was going to say, is it? So Arkansas is spelt Arkansas, but it's really Arkansas. But people from there are called Arkansans.
That's right.
And we drove through there because we want to see every single state in the US. So we went to a place called Hot Springs. And
yeah, I've been there. Mm-hmm.
You have? Oh, wow.
Well, they've got a national park. They've got one of the smallest national parks, which is in Hot Springs. Yeah.
The Hot Springs National Park.
And of course, it's very relevant for you, I guess.
Yes, I know. So the Hot Springs National Park has a whole line of bathhouses called Bathhouse Row. And you can sit in the hot mineral waters running down from the national park. And its claim to fame is that it has the only brewery in a national park in the world.
Okay.
Did you know that one?
I didn't know that one. I knew it had a brewery, but I didn't realize it was the only one.
And it's called Superior Bathhouse. We had a flight of 8 beers, so you get to try all the different beers. And it's made with the spa water. And that's quite a unique thing to do.
Not always good for a road trip, that, though, is it?
It really is. We do flights.
Well, eight beers is not great for a road trip.
Well, we stay over. We don't do it and jump back in the car.
Okay.
But yeah, and so in Hot Springs is where Bill Clinton grew up. Did you know that?
That's right. I did, yes.
Yeah, his boyhood home. And there's great hiking up there. And then there's this beautiful chapel in the middle of the woods. Did you see that one? It's called Anthony's Chapel, and it's a glass and wood chapel in the middle of the woods in these botanical gardens called Garvan Woodland.
I didn't see that, no.
Yeah, it's just literally in the middle of the woods, and it's beautiful glass, floor to ceiling, and people go there to get married.
Mm-hmm.
So that was Hot Springs, and we absolutely loved that. But then a little bit further, 4 hours away in Eureka Springs, Arkansas, it's a stair-step town. So it has no cross streets. So to go from one street to the next, you have to climb up about 50 steps. And there are all little bars and restaurants on these different levels.
And that's called Eureka Springs.
Eureka Springs, yeah.
Okay, that sounds interesting. Mm-hmm.
And right around the corner from that is Christ of the Ozarks.
Right.
So it's this huge 67-foot white alabaster statue looming over the Ozark Mountains.
And some of our listeners may have heard of the television series of that name, The Ozarks.
Yeah. But anyway, another place in...
I only watched one episode, so...
Oh, it's fantastic.
Is it? Okay.
Next to Christ of the Ozarks is the Passion Plays.
Okay.
You know the Passion Plays, the story of Christ?
Mm-hmm. Well, the ones set usually in Germany, aren't they?
In Oberammergau in Germany.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, we lived in Germany. We never got to see it. Plus, it was in German, so I didn't really feel like going to see it anyway because I wasn't fluent. But when I saw that they had the Passion Plays there, I said to my husband, I really, really want to go. Just because it's a once-in-a-lifetime thing. I mean, it's there or it's in Germany. Mm-hmm. And the stage is, I think, a quarter of a mile long. You've got all these little goats and donkeys crossing the stage, and it depicts the life of Christ, and it's beautiful singing. It really was a fantastic night out, and sitting in the amphitheater with this looming Christ of the Ozarks in the background.
Okay. And when did they have that?
It was in the summer, but that was 2 years ago.
Because I know in Germany they have it's every 8 years, isn't it? But
I can't remember. You might be right.
Yeah, I don't know whether it's something they have every year or... It sounds something worth going to see anyway, so...
It really is. Even if you're not religious, it's a wonderful event. And then I've just got to tell you about the last place in Arkansas. It's hysterical. So we were looking at places to go. There's this museum called Crystal Bridges, and it's a museum of American art, you know, Rockwell, Warhol, that kind of stuff.
Right.
And it's over a river, and it's literally a crystal museum, absolutely beautiful. And there's 4 miles of biking paths and hiking, and you can take the dogs. So we went there. We couldn't get in because we hadn't booked, and it was during COVID. And anyway, so we drove around the town. Well, you'll never guess what town Bentonville is.
It's where Walmart is.
Yes. You have not been. Don't tell me.
No, I haven't been to Bentonville, but I know people who work at Walmart and they regularly have to go to Bentonville, to the mothership. So, yes,
we didn't know. We didn't know. We drove around. We said, wait a minute. Why is this all blue and white? Right. They're the colors of Walmart. And then, the logo is that little spark.
Is that what it is? Yeah. It's a star type thing. It looks like a star to me. Yeah.
Right. Well, that's what I thought, but it's a Spark. So they have a Spark cafe in the town around this cute little square, and you can get ice cream from there. And guess what color the ice cream is?
Blue.
Blue and yellow.
Blue and yellow.
And it's $1. It's $1. So the whole town is based on Walmart.
Okay. Yeah. Well, there are other towns which are similar. We talked about one, I think, in the last couple of episodes in Columbus, Indiana. So I think these things do exist, these large companies, essentially, where most of the town is employed through or at least close to.
Yeah. Well, we were just very shocked. But, so Arkansas, called the natural state. There's lots of outdoorsy things to do, really wonderful. And the spas, it was a fantastic, I think we had maybe 5 days there, and we went from top to bottom all over, and it was not disappointing at all.
Yeah, we've been there as well. And I think we went to a state park, which was fantastic. And it was set around a number of lakes, and we went canoe fishing. And, most British people wouldn't dream of going to Arkansas for a vacation, but, we had a good one as well. So next question, your favorite highway eatery?
We don't do a lot of chain restaurant foods like that. The Olive Garden.
Okay. So you haven't listened to last
I did.
Yeah. And I was very rude about Olive Garden.
Oh, okay. But the thing is, you were talking about the really awful restaurants where I would never go.
Right.
What was the one that won in your last series?
Panera Bread, I think, was one of them. Chick-fil-A, Panera Bread, those were highly regarded, I think.
There's something house. What